Green beer and St. Patrick's Day go hand in hand.
But the idea of green beer has a new definition for a local brewery. WBZ meteorologist Jacob Wycoff visited Tree House Brewery in Charlton for today's Eye on Earth.
You probably aren't thinking about climate change or saving the planet while you're sipping a beer, but Tree House Brewing Company is doing just that.
It was literally a no-brainer.
That's Tree House co-founder Nate Lanier on the decision to install state-of-the-art carbon capture technology.
The truth is, whether you're a small or a large brewery, you have an impact on the environment.
Through the beer fermentation process, carbon dioxide is naturally released. CO2 is one of a few greenhouse gases that are contributing to our warming climate.
So far, we've collected 1,500 pounds, give or take.
Dan Flink was in charge of this project for Tree House.
We're hoping to be, one day, completely recovered CO2.
Instead of going to a blow-off bucket, the CO2 is captured, then sent over to the Earthly Labs machine to be cleaned and reused.
The recycled product is actually super pure.
Yes, Earthly Labs has seen purity levels up to 99.999%.
Wow.
We don't think about CO2 as an ingredient where we have a choice, but now we might have a choice.
Earthly Labs CEO Amy George says the global supply chain crunch has even affected things like bulk deliveries of CO2. Beer companies utilizing this carbon capture technology were somewhat shielded from that uncertainty.
We do see it's insurance and it's the right thing to do.
What does this sort of capture technology do, not just for you guys, but for the industry at large, you think?
I think eventually this is going to be an industry standard just because there is so much waste.
We have a responsibility in business to make sure that we're thinking about the future and what can we do to mitigate our impacts. All we think about is being better each day. And that mentality has led us to this.
Now, right now, the only beer that Tree House is making with the recycled CO2 is called Fruit Project. But in the coming months, all of their beer, including this can of Very Green, could in fact get a bit greener. Guys, back to you.
Yeah, and Jacob, just curious, have they heard from other breweries? Is the word out enough that others want to tap into their knowledge?
Yes, absolutely. So the Earthly Labs is expanding their footprint, and partly because they're based in Austin, Texas. And with that, the beer scene in Austin, Texas is pretty big. There is another brewery in Massachusetts that utilizes this technology, and I do think that with Tree House doing it, they kind of set the standard for everyone.
I couldn't help but notice, too, those two cans in your hand are both empty.
No, they're not. They're for us after the show.
They could be.
Thank you, Jacob.
Thanks,
Great
Jacob.
story.
Really interesting.